Hello and welcome to the Fighting Spirit Podcast. As always, I'm Jason and I'm here to go over the fight picks and results for UFC Shenzhen, China, where Weili Zhang took home her 115-pound crown for the very first time, making a push into China. So Andrade was just overwhelmed in this one. We did actually get this one wrong, but we had an okay night or day or morning, depending on how you look at it. We went 4-2 the purely crunched fights, and we went 6-5 overall. So winning on both regards, not too bad. And we know a lot of those, debuting bouts were just kind of off the cuff. But we still managed to end up on the positive side. Let's make kind of a quick work of this one. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time this morning. I just want to get it out there, go over some of the picks. Here's the show. Alright, so I managed to see at least the main event in a few fights this morning. I was able to wake up at 3 a.m. my local time and watch the entire thing. Let's go over it as best we can for what I've seen and for our time available. So, Weili Zhang defeats Jessica Andrade. I thought this was, just a one-sided affair, really, but it was a lot of mistakes in Andrade, really. I saw Zhang walk in. I thought she looked nervous. I thought she kind of looked like she might crumble under the pressure, and maybe Andrade thought that too. She came in, she looked very stoic as Michael Buffer went through the information for the fighters, and I just thought that Andrade was going to kind of run her over, and I think she thought the same thing. She came on, she put the pressure on very, very early, and got into a brawling affair with Zhang, and Zhang is a technical striker, and even though Andrade does eat shots to set up her takedown, I thought she went wild. I thought she went too loose, and she threw really all of her skill set out the window and ended up getting KO'd 42 seconds into the first round. I think if she had respected Zhang's power and striking a little bit more, she probably wouldn't have gotten run over by a Chinese truck in Zhang. It just didn't work out. She just threw the game plan out the window, I feel like. And maybe the game plan was to put a lot of pressure on her right away, but not to get into a wild brawling exchange. I don't know how she thought that was actually going to be a good move. I don't know. It didn't sit right with me. I don't know where her mind was in this one. Maybe something wasn't right. Maybe she thought she could bully her. Either way, Zhang does, picks up the win here, and it was a good win. I mean, all honesty to Zhang, I just don't think Andrade put in a game plan for a fight that I thought she could have won pretty easily. I really thought that Andrade could have put this one away. It just didn't work out, though. Hats off to Zhang, and I did throw it out there. I wouldn't put any money on this one. I didn't like it going to the judges here, and obviously we didn't get there, but I didn't like the fight overall anyway, so, I didn't bet on any of this card either, so hopefully you didn't, and this is just the way things go sometimes. This is MMA. So moving on to the next one, in pretty tight contest, we had Zhang Li defeat Capoeira Santos, and Santos looked okay. He just got knocked down and took too much damage. Too often. I thought Zhang Li put out some great power striking, some great technical striking. His head was on a swivel. He was moving around. He was in and out of the pocket. And Dos Santos kept loading up for big shots and was not able to connect really any. I mean, he maybe wobbled Lee a couple of times, especially I think into the third and second round. But for the most part, the entire highlight reel was Lee, and he looked good. He won in front of his home country. And, I think ultimately maybe that's how it was always going to play out. The numbers did pick Dos Santos, but after looking at them go, I think this was just a case of, kind of a little bit of maybe not the best numbers going into it, and it kind of is what it is. But hats off to Lee. He picked up a great win. In one we were able to pick correctly, Kai Kara-France defeats Mark De La Rosa, and in this one I think it's a story of a takedown artist that just can't get takedowns and is forced to box and kickbox. So De La Rosa goes for early takedowns. I said it, Kai Kara-France would stuff all of them, and he did. I don't think, no, you know what, they both got a takedown in. But honestly, I think De La Rosa just didn't look that great, at least with his grappling game. He wasn't able to execute it or get it to the mat at all. Kai Kara-France was able to keep it standing, and he ended up boxing him up on the feet. Granted, De La Rosa did have some good shots in there, but there was a very, very solid kick to the body for Kai Kara-France in the third round that really hurt De La Rosa, and I think cemented the round for him. Mark De La Rosa was just coming in with this really high boxing guard, and it's like he kind of lapsed on the idea that he could have been kicked or even punched to the stomach, and I think Kara-France just made great advantage of, those tendencies for that high guard, and he made him pay for it pretty handily. So it basically played out the way I thought it would. I thought France would look a little more dominant on the feet than he did, but ultimately he outstruck him 91-60, and so it is a pretty good representation of what I said. In our next one, we did get correct. We had Kenyon Song defeating Derek Krantz. This was also another crunched fight, and Song, I didn't actually see it, but it looked like he looked very good here. Krantz was able to score multiple takedowns, but ultimately Song was able to do more damage on the feet, outstriking him 58-33. I'm not sure how maybe this was a unanimous decision. I always talk about kind of the shady, maybe not shady, just kind of hometown edges that come up, and I think maybe we saw a hometown edge here. Granted, I didn't see the fight, but 58-33 with 3 takedowns and 1 submission attempt, 3 passes for Krantz. It almost looks like he probably should have won this fight. I didn't see it, but unless Song did a lot of damage with those extra strikes, I'm not sure how Krantz ended up losing this one. Either way, we did pick it right, but ultimately, I'm not sure the judges get this one correct. And another one I'm not sure the judges got correct, and it was a split decision. Mizuki Inoue defeats Yanin Wu, and I did not think that Wu could lose this one in any way, especially in a decision. I don't know what happened here. Wu outstruck her 123-93. If the judges got the last one wrong, I think they also got this one really wrong. Look, unless Inoue or Mizuki just did a ton more damage. I mean, that's a lot more strikes to lay on. That's like 30 additional strikes on there, and I don't know. It feels like a bad decision. These two feel like a bad decision, and that's why I said to stay away from this card. This is a perfect representation where I'm looking at the numbers and I can't match them. I got 1 split decision loss, and I got 1 unanimous decision, and neither of them makes sense. So hey, that's why we talk about these things, especially when they go to the cards. Anthony Hernandez defeats Jun Young Park. This is one that we were not able to get correctly, so he gets a anaconda choke deep into the second round. Then we had another one we were able to crunch correctly. Su Majeri defeats Andrade Sukumtat, and from what I understand, Sukumtat broke his hand in the first round, and that kind of really ruined things for him. He was outstruck like mad, but you really can't put on a contest at that point. In fact, I almost, and maybe it's because his UFC contract and his ride is on the line here, but I wonder if Andrade Sukumtat's corner shouldn't have thrown in the towel, knowing that he had a broken hand, wouldn't be able to grapple very well, he wouldn't be able to strike very well, and not having all the tools in your toolkit for a guy like that, it is tough, not to throw in the towel and, save your fighter from unnecessary damage. But I understand throwing in the towel might mean he gets cut from the roster. So it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't moments. And they made the decision to let him stay in. Ultimately, he took it to decision, but Su Majeri was pretty dominant throughout. And we did get that one correct, like I said. Da Un Jung defeats Khadis Ibrahimov. This one is a win for us. Sorry, it's a little bit out of order for me. This is a win for us. Not a crunched fight, but one we're able to pick up. This looked like it was a pretty even contest until the submission guillotine choke into the third round. In fact, Ibrahimov had scored takedowns. He also was out striking Jung, but Jung was able to persevere and pick up the W. In another one, Damir Esmagalov defeats Thiago Moises, and in this one, we did get it correct. This one was also a crunched fight, I believe. Let's double check on that. Yep, it was a crunch fight, and it was correct as well. We did pick up a W, and it looked like Ismagulov was able to out-handily strike him 2-1. In the last two contests, Heli Alatang defeats Dana Bertrell, and in this one we did get a W. We picked Alatang, although this one was not crunched. And another one that wasn't crunched, Carol Rosa defeats Alora Precipio. Both had prolific output. It was a split decision, but 171 strikes for Rosa, 165 landed for Precipio, and so just a lot of high output, high action in that one. So this was an okay card for us. I was anticipating it probably to be a little bit worse than it was. I really thought we were going to be able to correctly crunch Andrade and Zhang because they had the best statistical information, but that's not the way things play out. As I said, I'm not sure what happened with Andrade's game plan, and it just kind of, shakes me up a little bit when fighters just don't go out and don't perform. I mean, it's just part of sports. It really is. You cannot depend on statistics to guarantee victories ultimately. We try to get as close as we can, and things look very good overall for us. I think it's 67% accuracy. That's I think keeping with the winning ways and doing well for us here tonight with the crunch fights. A card coming up that I have a little bit better confidence about, though, is going to be UFC 242. So I am looking forward to crunching that one. I'm not going to give any kind of preview. I'm going to have to record it a little bit earlier than usual, though, just so you know. I have a trip coming up, so I will be unable to record the show on Monday night like I normally do. I'll probably record it Sunday night instead, which leaves a little more room for late-minute changes and things of that nature. If some changes come through, I generally try to re-crunch them and post them to either Twitter or Facebook. So if you're out looking for those, they'll be out on the worldwide interwebs, as it were. All right, so housekeeping, you can get in touch with the Fighting Spirit Podcast at fightingspiritpodcast@gmail.com. You can get in touch with me on Twitter at MMA Fight Picks 01. You can also follow us on Spotify and YouTube and anywhere else you get your podcast. So, like I said, I know I lied about the length of the podcast for the picks to this one. This one is definitely going to be a little bit shorter. And it's just a result of my day. Hope I'm not cutting anybody too short here. Ultimately, I was, like I said, happy enough with the picks. But I am rambling, and I will be back soon with those picks for 242. I'm really looking forward to going through that one. I think this one will be a really good test for the latest metrics that we're working with, and I think it's going to be a very interesting contest. I'm really looking forward to Khabib Poirier. I have quite a bit to say about why I think who's going to win is going to win. There's a lot of factors. There's a lot of X factors that my metric does not speak to. There's a lot of ideas I have in my mind, but the numbers ultimately support what my theory is about the competitor I think is going to win and lose. So I guess that's a little bit of a teaser. It'll be coming out very soon, though. And until then, happy fight picking.